We want to tell you about something, or a couple of things.
There's a few things because it's
things.
October and this is Two Girls, One Ghost. So we have some updates.
Mm-hmm. And the first one is something that we do every year.
It's a Halloween costume contest and we give out trophies.
Yeah, we do. I don't even know what the trophies this year look like.
I should have opened them and debuted them.
That's okay. No, it's going to be a surprise.
It's a spooky surprise. I can see them out of the corner of my eye. It's exciting. We love seeing the costumes every single year. And so we're going to choose 3 of the best costumes this year, and you'll get something special from us and a trophy. To enter into the contest, there's really nothing much you need to do other than tag us in your costume photo on Instagram.
Yep. Whether it's your story or your feed post. Feed post we'll be able to look at probably better.
Better for considerations.
Yeah,
definitely.
So that we can actually go back and it doesn't disappear after 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, get your game on. Go play.
All right, All Stars, we have another update for you as well. And that is that on our Patreon, every single Tuesday, we do something called Campfire Stories, where we all show up to this live event on Zoom and we bring people on stage and they tell us our ghost stories. Our ghost stories. They're ours once they tell them to us.
We collect your ghost stories.
They tell us our ghost. Oh my God. They tell us their ghost stories. And it's super fun. We do it every single Tuesday. And so we thought for that Tuesday right before Halloween,
October 29th,
we can open it up to everybody so everyone can join and we can just have an immense gathering of haunted people.
An immense gathering. So we will post that on our socials and it's a Zoom link that you will be able to join. Campfire Stories is so much fun. Actually, one of my favorite memories from Campfire Stories is one of our listeners came on probably a year and a half ago, or maybe more. And they told us about all these hauntings that they were experiencing. And everyone that was on that Campfire Stories set intentions. It was like a group manifestation. We were all witches. We are all witches. And we sent good vibes to our listeners' way. And we were like, let's cleanse the space. Only positive energy is surrounding you. No hauntings or nothing dark or evil is allowed to enter her space. She came back 4 or 5 months later and said, since that night, not a single haunting has happened.
Which is so wild. I mean, I believe it because it's everybody's energy together.
Yeah, we're powerful over there.
My favorite moment was when our listener, Emma, was telling us about her haunted apartment complex. And we were like, do you think your roommates and your neighbors would be open to a seance? And Emma came back that very next week with everyone from her apartment building gathered around a Ouija board and we all watched them connect with the dead.
Yeah, we had a live seance that we watched Emma do.
So we never really know what's going to happen on Campfire Stories.
And then we had another Emma who came on with ducks one time. I think it was while you were on maternity leave.
We have tarot cards being pulled. There's so many different things.
So if you want to get rid of some dark energy and call upon the energy and power of the Two Girls, One Ghost community, or if you have any ghost stories that you want to share with us, please come join us on Campfire Stories. It will be available for everyone. And then after that, if you like what you see, join us on Patreon every Tuesday for live ghost stories at 8 p.m.
Eastern.
Yes.
We live on the Eastern Seaboard.
We do. 5 p.m. Pacific. And it's always available for replay as well on Patreon. We love you Halloween.
We are seated. We are sat.
Begin.
Welcome. This is Two Girls, One Ghost.
Two Girls, One Ghost.
And we are your spooky witches. That's Corinne, and I'm Sabrina, and this is an Encounters episode in the month of October. And my bra strap is showing.
Oh, scandalous. We're getting undressed already.
Oh my goodness.
In the first 2 minutes.
I'm going to expose myself to all of you, just like Sven is.
Yeah, look at that pelvis.
Fully exposed.
Well, your head is blocking his pelvis for privacy's sake. You know, we can't get banned on YouTube.
Right. Yeah, nudity. My goodness. They'll come after
Rated
us.
R this episode.
Actually, we're taking a different approach this week because we know we traditionally do a lot more of the scary.
Especially in the month of October.
Yes.
In years past, we've gone a little bit hard being like, well, it's spooky season, so let's just go dark and scary. And honestly, that has kind of
opened us up.
Perpetuated some hauntings that we weren't anticipating having. So this year, we decided to do a sweeter episode.
Yes. I think all of the October episodes, like the research ones, are spooky. And then we're doing back and forth with the encounters. So you get a little bit of everything.
Yeah, first they're spooky, then they're sweet, right? That's
Right. A breath of, I can relax.
Yeah,
And then the demons are like, haha, you think so, but you can't.
But today you can.
Right. Well, maybe.
Maybe.
We don't know where you live. We don't know if people have demons.
No, but hopefully Sven, our resident ghost, will come and visit you and protect you.
Correct.
At least today.
We hope so.
Would you like to begin?
Yes. Thank you for asking.
Great.
Okay.
I also have the sticky blood you were eating earlier on my
Is it on
fingers.
you?
Yeah.
Because you touched the brain.
I touched the brain. I'll rub the blood off. No big deal.
Petunia.
Oh, shit. The blood is all over my thing.
How'd that get there? Oh, it dripped.
It's a bloody Tuesday over here.
We let the blood drip down. Here, Petunia. You can sit on top of the brain. Oh, Petunia. Behave. Okay. That's how that will be. Okay. I have one from our listener, Lady Finley.
Lady Finley. A proper name for a sweet episode.
In our witchy cottage.
Love it.
Of the basement.
In the cellar.
In the cellar. Hello, ladies. Okay. I just want to say that I came from a long line of witches from across the world and have had ghost experiences since I was a little kid. Most of the women in our family have dreams of what is going to happen. Like I dreamed I had twins when I was in middle school, and I dreamt of them again the year before I had them. My mother had a dream of her mother, who died when she was 23, coming to her to let her know that she was having a girl, me. My mother also thinks that I might be her mother reincarnated because I look and talk just like her.
Whoa.
But let's get to my ghost stories. When I was 6 years old, I fell out of my treehouse and cracked my head open.
Ooh.
Once my parents got me to the hospital, I died and they brought me back.
What? Holy shit. This is so casually just like dropped in here. I thought, okay, wow.
But she's alive.
You're alive. We know that because you're emailing us. But oh my God.
This is sweeter.
That's why I didn't think that they were going to die.
Right. No one expects to die and then come back.
No.
After that, I would have episodes that doctors could not explain. It always happened at night, and it was really scary for me and my family. Okay, this does get sweet, I promise. There's just some spooky things.
Yeah.
My mom said my entire eyes would turn black, kind of like black-eyed children, and I would scream. And I would remember every episode because I would be in my room, but I couldn't see my mom or dad. And weird things would happen, like snakes would come underneath my door, or men in black suits or little men would talk to me in the ceiling.
What in the world?
And then once I was a teenager, the episodes just stopped. And then I started to feel presence of spirits wherever we lived. Now, this is the weirdest experience I've had with the spirit, if it even was a ghost. I'm not too sure. I moved to San Francisco when I was 18, and I lived in a studio flat with another girl. We met for the first time the day we both moved in. I arrived a couple hours earlier than her, and the building manager showed me the flat. Walking through the door, I immediately got a chill and a bad vibe, but I chalked it up to moving to a new city and an old building. I noticed the windows were brand new, which was weird because the entire building was from the early 1900s. And then the manager told me that there was a drive-by shooting a month prior, and only this flat had the windows broken.
Jeez.
Should have been a warning.
Yeah, but also you're like, well, it happened once. What are the chances it's going to happen again?
Okay, so the sweeter part of this story is the fact that she died and came back to life.
Okay, well, we tried, but we're already in it.
I do think the other two, I picked these so long ago that I forgot, but the other two definitely are sweet.
This feels classic. We create like a rule, and then you somehow just are like, I'm not doing that.
I swear I tried. I really thought I had done everything sweeter.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. Oh, man. Anyway, this should have been a warning, but walking around, I noticed a large closet off the bathroom. So you have to walk in, then pull the string down for the light to come on.
Mm-hmm.
When I say I knew something lived in that closet, I mean it. It was pitch black and ice cold. I never wanted to open it again. Started moving in anyways, and a couple hours later, I meet my flatmate. She's from LA, and we become instant friends. That's sweet.
That is really sweet. That's sweet. That's
See?
a sweet one.
A couple months go by, and I leave for the weekend to see my family, and when I get back, I notice that no one's been home. So I call my flatmate, and she told me that she stayed at a friend's house the entire weekend. That night, we were both sleeping when I started to feel something pull my blankets from the end of my bed. At first, I wasn't fully awake and I just pulled my blanket back up, but something yanked and then back down, and I shot up in bed. Right then, from the room next door, my flatmate screams, "Stop jumping on my bed."
What? Ew! I hate this.
I jumped out of my bed. I turned on all the lights, and at this point, we're both shaking and don't know what to do. I asked her if she noticed something wrong with the flat when she moved in, and she told me she hated the vibes the moment she stepped in. And also, she told me that while I was gone for the weekend, that first night she woke up to something breathing on her neck, which is why she went and spent the weekend at a friend's.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
We moved out that week. Whatever lived in that flat was pure evil.
Yeah.
Thanks, lady. See you on the other side. Lady Finley. Hey, Lady Finley survived and moved out. The entity didn't follow.
That's true.
And
the beginning was sweet with sort of like the premonitions and dreams about like children, next generations.
yes,
We have that.
there's a mix. And then fell out of a treehouse, cracked her head open,
Survived.
died and came back to life.
Although the
Sweet.
dying and coming back to life triggered a lot of this other unexplained phenomena.
Yes. I am curious though if okay, this is only because my mindset, we've heard multiple stories where people have been sick and then see aliens or believe that aliens have come and saved them, and doctors can't pinpoint what's wrong with them, and then all of a sudden
Yes.
they have this alien encounter and then they're magically better. What if
These little green.
species,
Yeah.
we're like, we'll save you, but we're gonna keep visiting you.
It just makes me wonder about the eyes going black though. Because like I feel like there were a lot of alien sort of encounters
Yeah.
where like that potentially could be part of it. But the black eyes and
That's
just it
scary.
feels like there's
And
it
you
feels
can't
like
medically.
what's this person's name?
Lady Finley?
I wanted to say Lady Featherington, which I think is
That is from
Bridgerton.
Yeah, Bridgerton, yeah.
Lady L, I'll call her because I'm not going to remember.
Lady
this.
F.
Lady F. Fuck. My brain. Guys, I'm pregnant. That's my excuse. I'm literally Dory from
Meanwhile,
Finding
I have
Nemo.
no excuse for why I didn't follow.
It does make me feel like they were just thrown into everything in the paranormal all at once. It was like,
Oh, yeah.
like I almost picture like the Alice in Wonderland where she's falling down the kind of like psychedelic hole
Right.
and it's all trippy. I just like pictured that where it's like aliens and little goblins
Sure.
and like
She's in like
demons
the
and
fun
black-eyed
house.
kids. Yeah.
Where every mirror is a different thing and all these entities are just like coming through.
Right.
Ooh. Oops. Oopsie. Sorry.
Twas us.
Got violent.
Got violent.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I'm sweet. Violently sweet.
Got violent. Sorry.
That's
Oh my
me.
God. Okay, well, I think I did pick sweet ones. Although I guess we'll find out because I too picked this a while ago. So I'll start out with one that doesn't sound sweet, and it's called I Knew My Mother Was Going to Die.
No, that doesn't sound sweet. But I imagine there's
something
something
sweetness in
hopeful.
here. Hi, Corinne, Sabrina, and Leia. I recently discovered your podcast on a recommendation from one of my coworkers, and I'm obsessed. Ew, pyramid scheme.
I love how you went.
No way. You did what we asked. I've slowly started binging at work, and let me tell you that it has made the days go by so much quicker. It's so amazing and spooky, and your title always gives me a chuckle. Anyways, down to the story. When I was 13, me and my parents lived in Guatemala, and we had just moved down there since my mom wasn't in very good health and her treatment was a lot cheaper down there. I was done with school for the year, and I begged my mom for us to go back to Denver, where we were from. She finally agreed to it and decided to come back for my brother's birthday. We came back, but my mom became very ill almost immediately.
No.
We were supposed to stay for 3 months, but about 3 weeks in, my mom just couldn't take it, and she told my dad that we had to go back. They figured that the easiest way would be to drive back. My mom, dad, and I were supposed to hit the road on Tuesday. Monday night, my mom pulled siblings one by one and said goodbye to each of them. That night, I dreamt of my mom. She was in our kitchen at the table, drinking coffee, and told me, "Get ready. It's all going to change." The next morning, on our way to get the cars that we were going to take, I told my dad that I didn't want to drive with them, and me and my mom got into this huge fight about whether or not I should go with them. My mom and I were extremely close, and I wasn't really rebellious at 13 years old, so the simple fact that I argued with her was really out of the norm. The entire time I was fighting with her, I had this overwhelming feeling that I just couldn't leave with them. She finally gave up. She told me to stay with my brother, And as she pulled away, I had this feeling that I was just never going to see her again.
Oh.
This was on a Tuesday. The next night, I dreamt of a wake. I didn't know whose wake it was, but I saw one of my older sisters, Paula, and my brother, and people were giving them condolences. I kept asking who had died, but the people just didn't know that I was there. The next day, I dreamt of a funeral in our small town in Guatemala, and I saw my dad's 2 older sisters, Wendy and Veronica, and my dad. I heard them talking and asking where I was. It was like, again, they couldn't see that I was there. We got a call the next day. My mother had had a heart attack on the road. She had refused to let my dad take her to the hospital, and they were on the road to Guatemala. I stood there in shock. I thought to myself, I think my mom is going to die. After our fight, she wasn't very happy with me. We'd not left things on good terms whatsoever. So I freaked out. I tried to call her, but she told me that it was fine. We were fine, but she had to go. At this point, my family was in a panic, and Wendy decided to meet our parents in Guatemala. She booked a flight that very same day, and the next day, we get a call from my dad. They had made it to Guatemala, but my mom had another heart attack, and now she was in intensive care. My other 2 sisters and I booked flights the very next day. When we got to the airport, Paula wasn't able to get on the plane because her passport had expired. I looked at her and I told her to take care of Eduardo, our brother. The entire flight, I was very uneasy, and at exactly 6:10, I had this sharp cramp on my side, so sharp I began to throw up.
Oh my gosh.
When we landed, we were greeted by my auntie with a very somber face telling me my mother was no longer with us. She told us her official time of death was at 6:10.
Wow, they're so connected.
I know. I have like chills all over my body.
Look, I have full.
Yeah, everywhere. A few days went by and we had the funeral. We get to the cemetery and it was straight out of the dream that I saw. Wendy, Veronica, my dad looking for me in the crowd of people. Everything was exactly the same, down to what everyone was wearing.
Whoa.
That night, I dreamt of my mom, and she was in a pink dress, her favorite.
Aww.
And she told me she was sorry that she'd been short with me, but she knew her time was coming, and she knew that she just couldn't let go of this world if I was still in her mind. She told me that she loved me, and she would always be there for me. I think back to this a lot, and I like to think that she just was ready for heaven, and I played my role in passing her on to the next life.
Oh.
See you on the other side, Jackie.
Jackie, I'm so sorry.
I know.
That's so, so tough. But you clearly have this like beautiful connection with your mom to understand and know as much as you did. To know the outfits.
Right.
To dream of the details.
It was multiple days long of basically like picking up on what was about to happen and the universe like prepping what was to come.
And I do wonder if the reason Jackie had the feeling of like not going in the car with them was because, like her mom said, it would have been harder for her.
Right.
Like it was almost an intuition and a gut feeling that her mom was almost giving her.
Right. She needed to pass when she passed.
Yeah.
And if Jackie had been there, maybe they would have actually gone to the hospital that first time. And maybe her mom would have passed, but it might have been a few weeks later and there might have been more pain and more.
Yeah, more emotion.
Heartache. And it was supposed to be when it was supposed to be.
Oh, it's so sad.
It is really, really horribly sad. But my God.
I'm curious if anyone else in Jackie's family had dreams or if it was just Jackie.
Yeah.
If anyone else felt something at 6:10.
That's what's so crazy. Like to feel so sick, you're throwing up. To feel so much pain in your body. It's like a piece of you is being ripped away, which it feels like it was because they had such a strong connection. And then like, I'm glad that Jackie both got the conversation with her mom where her mom was like, don't worry about the fight. We're fine.
Yeah.
And then after she passed, her mom being like,
I love you. Showing up in her pink dress.
And her favorite dress. Sorry, I keep banging this with my elbow. Oops, and I keep sticking my fingers in the blood.
The 2 tiny spots of blood that you just keep getting.
They're perfectly where I want to be.
I have one from Deirdre, not Deidre. That's literally what it is with the emojis.
Okay.
And it's called My Henry. My name is Deirdre. You can use my name. In fact, you kind of have to. All will be revealed soon.
Okay.
And then it says, before I start my entirely biographical tale, I have 2 disclaimers that must be established. 1, Deirdre, not Deidre. Nothing against my poor, misguided, misnomered sisters. But it is important to me.
I'm going to start saying that to people who spell their name the same as me, but pronounce it Corinne.
Yeah. Like,
double N, baby. It's in.
No offense to my poor, misguided misnomers. And 2, I only have one fear in life, and that is drowning. And in particular, being trapped underwater and not being able to surface to get air. I have always had a spirit following me my entire life. His name is Henry, and he would talk to me when I was very young and would appear to me early in the morning atop my bookshelf as a floating head.
Oh.
I can imagine that, yes, that sounds frightening to most people, but
It does.
to me, as a toddler, a small child, or even a tween, it was totally normal. We would talk daily about life, and he would always make sure that he made it clear he wanted me to be a good girl. Lucky for him, those formative years found me a quite compliant child. I didn't develop my keen sense of sass and smartassery well into adolescence. After I wised up and started thinking, why the actual fuck is an old crusty man coming into my room to lecture me on the societal norms of our outdated patriarchy?
I don't know. It's a good question.
But reflecting back, I can remember he actually resembled my dad. So that's kind of how I thought of the old geezer. My very own, not at all creepy, guillotine victimized Jiminy Cricket.
Grandfather? Great-grandfather?
Maybe.
Great-uncle?
Just floating head. Fast forward to the pandemic. I had lots of time on my hands and nothing better to do than deep dive into Google, researching any and all topics that struck my fancy into the wee hours of the night, as I'm sure a lot of us did during that time. I have a degree in theater, so naturally one of my dives revolved around theater from the 19th century. Ibsen, Shaw, Tolstoy, nice light reading for us insomniacs. But why the 19th century? Who the hell knows, but that's where I was and that's where I ended up. And here is where things get interesting. While I was slogging through this turgid, dismal information, I was startled to find an image of an actor from the 19th century named Henry Irving, who was one and the same as my childhood bookshelf creeper.
What?
I knew instantly that this was the face of my friend. There was even a painting of him peering at a young woman, and it's just his head in the painting.
What the hell? He's like the OG Elvis, like when everyone dies and they say that they saw Elvis on the other side.
Or is this a past life connection?
Yeah, this is so interesting.
A couple of factoids that I learned. Sir Henry Irving does indeed look like my dear old dad with his stoic, sober, but benevolent gaze. And he seemed to be a pretty cool dude in his time. First actor knighted and all that shit. Very famous indeed, and had the paramours to back it up. He had his own kids, but he pretty much disregarded them. And one of his sons drowned in a shipwreck.
Ew.
He actually much preferred the family of his professional comrades and the son of Ellen Terry, Edward Gordon Craig. Craig became pretty well known himself in the theater and peppered the world with his illegitimate children, one of whom he fathered with the famous dancer Isadora Duncan. Now, if I've lost you, I wouldn't be surprised, but truly, hold on to your asses because that child that they had together was named Deirdre. Deirdre.
Stop!
Deirdre of the motherfucking sorrows herself. Another horrid ancient tale from Ireland that you should read. But
does he haunt everyone named Deirdre?
I don't know.
In the painting of him floating as a head, who was the girl in that painting? Deirdre?
Or is Deirdre? I think Deirdre is the... Okay, ready? Hold on to your butts. So when Deirdre was 7 and her younger brother Patrick was 3 or 4, they were on an outing with their nanny and chauffeur on the river on the Seine because their mother Isadora was in Paris working. While driving up a hill by the river, their car stalled and the chauffeur stepped out of the car to fix the problem. When he did so, he did not set the parking brake and the car rolled backwards into the river.
No.
Drowning Deirdre, Patrick, and their nanny, all 3 of them.
Oh my gosh. So horrible.
It's hard for me to even write about this or talk about the terror that would instill in someone. I'm an excellent swimmer, and in fact, I would say I'm a better swimmer than most people I know. I am never afraid of my own abilities when swimming in open water or in a pool, but I can't, under any circumstances, even watch shows where people go into caves underwater. I can't watch any footage of people exploring shipwrecks. I can barely go snorkeling because, again, it's not coming up to the surface to breathe. Being trapped underwater has to be one of the most terrifying ways to die. So I do know that I will never explore a shipwreck, and I will always carry a window-shattering tool when I travel on bridges. Henry continues to be present in my life, but mostly in very subtle ways. I can't help but think that his spirit energy stumbled upon my soul, saw my name as Deirdre, attached himself to me for my protection, guiding me to the theater, and ultimately to the picture I stumbled across. Or maybe, Deirdre, you are his daughter from a past life.
It feels that way.
I hope you enjoy this story. I'm always available to clarify or add if needed. Have a wonderful, spooky Halloween. Yours till Niagara Falls, Deirdre.
Till Niagara Falls. Another place where people die in the water, Deirdre.
In freaking barrels, trapped.
Yeah.
Speaking of being trapped.
Oh my gosh. Well, this feels so Many Lives, Many Masters. Where it's like Deirdre's current fears of being in the water and just like these sort of things happening are because she was Deirdre
in a past life.
In a past life. Like her soul is the same. She has already lived this. That is so crazy too. I'm so curious. Well, okay, here's a question for you, Deirdre. How did your parents pick out your name?
That's a good question.
Was it random?
Did it come to them? Yeah.
Did
your mom have a dream?
In the dreams and say, Deirdre is a good name.
I'm also curious. Okay, so here's another theory. Henry Irving had a son who died in a shipwreck who he wasn't that close with. But what if now in the afterlife, he does want to kind of still be with that soul and like kind of make up for not being a great father? And Deirdre is that child reincarnated because the shipwreck, that's also
just another one of his children.
Yeah.
So Deirdre isn't Deirdre. Deirdre's the other.
The other. Or maybe you're just, I don't know. Maybe you'll always be a Deirdre in every life that you're in.
It also makes me wonder too, like, because he was so kind, so I almost feel guilty saying this, but it makes me wonder if like there's some sort of curse where like he can't move on with his life until he has proved himself to be like the good father that he could be. Like we don't really know exactly how he was in his life and his relationships.
He did seem very focused on his career.
Yeah. I wonder if this is like a little bit of a curse. Through many lifetimes, you have to find Deirdre again. And
a blessing because he's learning.
But this is a happy episode.
So sweet.
Or silver linings.
Why are we? Oh, we've turned into old ladies. Put us in a basement for 2 hours and we lose our mind.
Weird down here.
It is.
The air's thicker. It's damp.
Dusty.
I have one called My Familiar Came to Visit Me. A ghost cat.
For me?
For you.
Thank you.
Hi, Sabrina. Hi, Corinne. My name is Sarah. Pronouns she, her, they, them. I've been wanting to write to you guys for a while and just really haven't known where to start. First things, I know you've heard this a million times, but I do love y'all so much and I can't even express how much I appreciate what you guys do. Your podcast is the first that I've ever really listened to, and now it's on usually anytime I stick my earbuds in or get into my car.
I love it.
I wanted to listen to every single episode, so I did start at the beginning. Oh, God.
Sorry, Sarah.
I found y'all while searching for a spooky podcast, but also a witchy podcast. Not me picking my jaw off the floor when I actually realized I'd found it.
What? That's such a compliment. This is a sweet episode.
This is. Thank you. That's actually this episode. We're going to pivot. We're only going to read compliments about us. No one log into Reddit.
Slowly over the course of the episode, our heads just get bigger and bigger and bigger and just pop.
They explode into the brain goo. This feels like that SNL skit where Kristen Wiig has to repeat exactly like yeah. I really wanted to thank you both for the inspiration that I needed to really dive into my practice and being there for me whenever I just need to distract myself from the things in life that I would rather not address at the time. I've really struggled with anxiety and depression and panic attacks and undiagnosed ADHD until this year. I'll be 30 in September. Oof. We are also there.
Hey.
You guys always bring me back down and keep me grounded when I'm really going through it. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for being here and listening.
Seriously.
I've been listening to you guys for the better part of 2023, and I've now reached the point in your podcast where you made it to 2023. Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Almost caught up. My husband bought me tickets for my birthday to go see you guys at Laugh Out Loud Comedy Club in San Antonio, Texas back in October, and it literally made my year.
Oh,
y'all did so amazing. You had me cackling the whole time. I brought my best friend who heard me talking about you guys all the time and thought that, yeah, it would be fun. And she left with the biggest smile saying, wow, that was amazing. And I was so captivated the whole time that they talked. I agree, since I haven't stopped listening to you after your very first episode.
The best compliment.
That's so nice.
Especially a stranger who has no idea what they're going into.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks, Sarah. Pyramid scheme.
Pyramid scheme. My therapy is literally just doing my mindful meditation, listening to your podcast, taking notes when you have witchy
really
guest speakers
on.
This
is the nicest.
This is so nice. And I'm working on my crochet projects. Corinne, if you haven't really gotten fully into it, you got this. Well, I did one project I gave up. So
yeah, that's okay.
I'll try again.
You'll get back into it maybe if you want.
I bought all the things.
Right.
I spent like $100 on crochet materials.
If you want to get back into it.
Made one koozie, gave up.
If you want, you can. It's always there for you.
I've always been spiritual, intuitive, etc. I was raised in a very divided household in every sense of the word between an atheist father and a Christian mother. I've always been empathetic, claircognizant, clairsentient, and at times clairaudient, but never been able to see things, which could be confusing or scary growing up in a religious household.
Witch, you're a witch, you're a witch. Best compliment.
I've been trying to understand that more and in turn have opened myself up to a lot of encounters that make absolutely no sense to me sometimes. I grew up in New Orleans, and some of the most creepy or taboo sights and feelings would make me feel so happy and so peaceful when I had every reason not to be at times. My childhood wasn't easy, but I always knew I had someone or something at my side when I really needed them. I've recently been embracing my witchy side, and I've been practicing as an eclectic pagan lunar/green/death witch for a little over a year. So we were right when we were like, witch.
Sarah, can you teach us?
I know. I have many encounters that I plan to write in soon, including ghosts, shadow people, astral projection, deity work, mediumship, and so on. Most of these are actually pretty recently since my father did pass away this past July. And he wasn't always a good person, so I've been doing a lot of shadow work to deal with that. I have been contacted by him several times as well, and I'm still processing everything with it being so fresh. So I'll write in about that once I've gathered those thoughts completely.
Fair.
But my story today is about what just happened this morning. I woke up to my husband telling me that it was almost noon. I had slept in again after staying up pretty late the night before, and I've been dealing with a lot of insomnia with this increased energy and experiences that I've been letting in, trying to journal as much of it as it happens. I know I was definitely awake this morning, though. I was laying there, just waking up, even grabbed my phone to check the notifications, scrolled for a minute on Facebook, and then I set my phone to my side. I just closed my eyes for a moment, listened to my 2-year-old son babbling to my husband down the hall, and rolled over towards my husband's side of the bed, letting my arm fall to that side. It was dark in our room and the curtains were drawn, and I felt the fur of what I presumed to be our cat Cosmo. He just turned a year old in December 22nd, solstice baby.
Aww.
And he's a bigger black cat. I could just make out him sitting in this loaf position on the edge of the bed, pointed towards the foot of the bed, but closer to me. So I gave him a few pets and some scratches on the head, and his head was already tilted back some when I opened my eyes and I said, "Good morning, Momo." And I noticed his hair was so thick. It was scruffy. And his head was tilted towards my hand as I was petting him. And I thought, wow, this is nice. I could stay here forever. I just gave him his final pat on the side. I rolled back to my side, got out of bed slowly, and walked towards the bathroom just next to our bedroom. And I find Cosmo standing in the doorway to the room, tail poofed, looking at me strangely in the hallway.
How dare you be petting another cat in the bed?
I stopped, thought, that's weird. How did he just run past me? I didn't feel or see him leave the bed, and he was practically asleep moments ago in the bed. So I turned back towards the room. I saw nothing. Our other black kitten, Wanda, was in the hallway too, just watching me intently, like I, too, spooked her. She's a smaller kitten, only about 4 months old now, and she just generally doesn't care a lot about things, unlike my snuggle bug, Cosmo, who can be jumpy at times. Another thing I thought is that Cosmo will normally want to sit on me, not just near me. At the very least, he will be facing me while pawing to ask if he can sit on me.
Aww, cute.
Not at an arm's length, turned away like this other cat. I shrugged it off, making breakfast/lunch for everyone and some ginger honey tea since I was dealing with a head cold. The lightheadedness had subsided now, and I stood in the entryway to our small apartment kitchen, looking into the dining space where my son was nomming away at some chicken nuggets. Smiling at him and enjoying my tea, I just was savoring the morning when I glanced up at the pet altar space just into the living room on the built-in bookshelf to find that a small art piece that I had purchased at the Yule Ball that I went to a couple weeks prior had been moved. I suddenly got a heavy, dizzy feeling out of nowhere. I'll attach a picture. It's a picture of a black cat sitting on a windowsill peacefully taking in the glow of the moonlight. I saw it. It had reminded me of my Emma, who had passed over just a few months ago, and she always loved sitting in the windowsills or near windows. So I set it on the top level of the memorial altar next to her urn. I distinctly remember and can find pictures of it from where I had put it when we'd put up our tree this year, and my husband confirmed the placement too. But now it was sitting not one, but 2 levels below, leaned up against our dog Chico's urn, and they were in fact very close on this plane.
Wait, that's so cute.
They wanted to be together.
And I like the idea that Emma kind of jumped off the shelf from where her urn was.
Yeah.
Oh,
We had some family over for dinner the night before, but I didn't see any of them go over to the altar space this time. If they had looked at anything, I know that they wouldn't have just picked anything up, let alone move something to the wrong shelf on accident.
Right.
So it took me a moment to realize, but maybe I had not been petting Cosmo all along. Intuitively, I realized throughout the day that Emma had come to visit me, and more likely thank me for the beautiful picture that I offered her to connect with. Remembering what it felt like to sit with her in this life, it was exactly like it felt this morning.
Oh.
She would always be at my side or be following me around.
I just got chills.
I know.
Goosies.
She lived to be nearly 15 years old, and I now truly believe her to be my familiar. She showed up to our house one day out of the blue in the fall of 2007 on the military base that we were living on. I noticed her just sitting in the driveway watching me take out the trash, and slowly I shuffled back inside to get some turkey slices for this thin little kitten that couldn't have been more than 8 or 9 weeks old and had to be hungry. And she was in that exact same place when I came back out. I crouched down to offer her a hand for sniffs, and she looked at me with her head tilt as if to say, "Why are you doing that?" I noticed right away that she looked at me differently than most cats we've had growing up. She always had more knowing. She had a tender look in her eyes.
Wise kitty cat.
Yes. She
Aw.
watched me, lurching forward to get that turkey when she noticed it, not afraid of me at all. She allowed me to pet her a little. She purred loudly and rubbed against my legs after. And of course, I tried to pick her up and bring her inside, assuming that she had to be lost or astray. To my surprise, she quickly jumped out of my arms and sat in the same place in the driveway, as if to say, "I don't know you, but I know you are where I want to be." Hesitant and scared, I beckoned her to come inside with me. She looked past me and then back at me and meowed deeply. I meowed back.
Oh, I do that all the time.
We went back and forth for a moment, and my mom came outside to see what was going on, and she couldn't believe the strange interaction between this stray cat and myself.
Just meowing to each other.
She smiled and said, "We can talk to your dad about it, but it is going to storm soon, and she seems to like you." I pretended not to care anymore, and I turned around to go inside while holding the screen door open behind me, and she lurched towards me, meowing as if to say, "Wait for me!" And she ran inside to sit by me once again, and we were inseparable ever since.
Oh,
Up until she became ill due to a growing mass on her belly.
sweet
She
baby.
I know. She would still be at my side at all times, meowing only to me 9 times out of 10. And I've attached some pictures resembling what I saw in my room this morning and a picture of how Emma would lay by me before. Also, I did include a picture of my Cuddlebug Cosmo and Wanda for comparison. Emma was a tuxedo short-haired cat, but turned to the side, you wouldn't notice all the white so much. There wasn't much white on her face like some. Cosmo only has one little white toe and a subtle crest going around his neck that couldn't be seen in the dark.
This is so cute.
I know. Our 3 babies were inseparable, but after our dog Annie passed in 2020 due to congestive heart failure, Emma and Chico became even closer. So it did seem right that she would want to give him a piece of her altar. I'll wrap this one up and say thank you again for everything you do. I'm curious what you girls think. I don't get the feeling that this was Faye related or anything like that. I definitely do think it was our baby girl. Additionally, we did have an experience with Chico and his altar back in August of this year. Chico's urn plate had been falling off for some time, but it was just his, which was weird to me since they all get the same sun exposure in the apartment, so very little and none that is direct light. And I decided to prop it up towards the front of the altar, and after doing the dishes that morning, I turned around and saw it again in the sun. And I will say, that boy loved to sunbathe and be the center of attention for sure. He was everyone's best friend. Nobody who met him had anything bad to say about Chico.
Of course not.
My dad had just passed a couple weeks prior, and I really do think Chico came to check on me and bring me some sunshine back into my life, if only for that day.
That's really sweet.
Until next time, keep on keeping on until you don't. Love ya, Sarah.
I also love the pictures of Chico and Emma together. It's so cute. They
I know,
love each
such
other.
little sweeties.
Emma does have wise eyes.
Yes.
Those green eyes. So sweet.
I thought Emma was playing hard to get to in the beginning in their encounter. She was like, "Oh, I'm not going to go with you right away. I don't need to be picked up. We're still sussing each other out."
Right.
But then as Sarah walked in, she was
like, wait, hold on.
Wait, I
am coming.
Yeah, this is just pretend. This was for fun.
It's so sweet.
I love visits from pets.
I also am curious if Emma and the other 2 cats had much
Cosmo
interaction.
and Wanda?
If they had much interaction with each other, if at all, because Cosmo was so like spooked
Mm-hmm.
that Which is a reaction that cats have sometimes to another
Yeah.
cat coming in. But if they didn't know each other, that makes sense.
That would make sense. Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense either way. I'd be startled,
Right.
if like a human
Yeah.
walks in.
Or like you haven't seen your sister in years and suddenly she's just like casually on the bed being pat.
Excuse me.
And you're like, what?
What? That's a very Patrick Star. Okay, I have a story to end us on.
Okay.
And it is from our listener, Anthea. And it is called Daddy, Are You There?
Daddy.
Hello, you fabulous ladies.
Hey,
I love your podcast and huge congrats to Corinne on announcing your pregnancy.
thank you.
My name is Anthea from Leicester in the UK. You can use my name if you would like. I was told about you guys by a mum friend last year and I've been hooked ever since. Pyramid scheme.
Mm-hmm.
I started watching the episodes from when you guys got back from tour and oh my God, I flippin' knew Corinne was pregnant. It took me days to get used to your voices at normal speed because I usually listen at 1.5 speed.
Honestly, when we listen back to edits and stuff, I can't listen at one. It's so slow.
Yeah.
Like freaking talk faster, Corinne.
Oh, I feel that way about myself all the time.
Yeah, I listen at 2 times speed.
Same. I hate listening to myself, period. So I've been wanting to email you guys, but I haven't sat down until now. I've been incredibly sensitive to the spiritual realm, even as a baby, right up until my teens, where I closed myself off after a horrifying experience. You'll have to read on to find out why. I didn't only pick scary.
Okay.
There are a few stories here, all sweet and heartwarming for those times that you do get freaked out and need a little grounding back to your happy place. So this first story, I was only 2. It was a few weeks after my dad had died in a car crash. Obviously, I didn't understand any of this at this age, but one particular night I woke up in my cot and I escaped, as I usually did, by climbing out and using my teddies as a soft landing on the floor. And I found my dad sitting at the end of his and my mom's bed, looking at me with a smirk as if I had been caught. Oops. He ushered me over and told me to go and tell my aunt, who was babysitting me at the time, that my brother was awake and was talking. He was also in the car with my dad when it happened and was placed into an induced coma. So I go off and toddle to my aunt, who had just gone off the phone, and I tell her with a huge grin on my face, "It's okay. Bro's now okay. Daddy just told me." I had no idea that my aunt had just been on the phone talking to my mom, who was at the hospital with my brother, telling her the exact same news that I was just delivering to her.
Ooh, what do you even say to the child? You're like, oh my God, okay.
How do you
Keep that energy. Keep that positivity.
Let's go visit your brother in the hospital.
Yeah.
That was my first ever memory of my dad, and I remember it clear as day almost 30 years later. Okay, so another year later, I'm 3, still unaware of really understanding that my dad had passed on. I'd woken up and waddled over to the bathroom to find a lighter on the side. You know, the good old days in the 90s when smoking around your kids in the house was completely normal and not frowned upon. So what else does a 3-year-old do but play happy birthday with said lighter? And it was going well until it caught my hair on fire. And in came my dad, who told me how to put it out by covering it and patting it out with a towel and dousing my hair with water. My mom came rushing in and wondering why everything was so smoky to find me against the smoke, laughing. Obviously, she freaked out. And my response was, I was playing happy birthday and I ended up being the candle. But it's okay. Daddy showed me how to put it out.
Oh, that's really lovely. From thinking your child is possibly a pyro to realizing that their dad is actually looking out for them.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Yep, there's me at 3 years old, like a creepy little pyromaniac kid, laughing amongst the smoke with a lighter in my hands. So let's fast forward a few decades. I'm 21 and I'm in labor with my gorgeous miracle baby girl, who's now 11 and the funniest spooky kid ever.
Yes.
I won't go into too many details of my birth story, but let's just say I didn't get my airy-fairy mother nature birth I wanted. There I was, 12 hours, hooked up to all the machines, zoning in and out of consciousness, and everything went quiet.
Oh, God.
I saw my dad standing at the bottom of my hospital bed, and I remember him standing there with this incredible glow around him, his face beaming with pride, and then things went dark. I woke up to him by my side, holding my hand, saying, "Darling, it's not your time. Your daughter needs her mother, and you have to be strong. I know you can do this." And just like that, the sounds and beeps of the hospital came rushing back to my ears, and the light was back. My dad was gone, and I had a dozen doctors, nurses, and midwives around me. Turns out I had to be resuscitated.
God, this is making me feel nauseous.
I know.
Jeez, that's
But
so scary.
Despite not seeing my dad anymore, I could still feel him holding my hand. Everything after that was a bit of a blur, and I ended up having my daughter through the sunroof C-section.
I love that.
That's amazing.
It came out through the sunroof.
Even when I was in the operating room, I could still feel my dad gripping onto my hand. My daughter, Bella, arrived safe and sound, and whenever things get tough, even to this day, I whisper, Daddy, are you there? Hoping to feel his hand squeezing mine to tell me he is.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you for creating such a welcoming community. I can't wait to see what you guys have in store in the future. But for now, Corinne, you focus on growing that beautiful little baby. And Sabrina, if you're coming to the UK, you're going to love it here. See you on the other side, Anthea.
Sabrina pivoted to Marblehead, but we'll probably continue on eventually to the UK.
Yeah, that will be my next book.
Yeah. And now I'm scared for childbirth. So thanks. No, it wasn't you. It's already been here. But I've only been freaking out for 4 weeks and crying every day.
By the time this comes out, baby will be here.
Yes. That is freaking incredible to have your dad just come into your life so frequently in these really big moments where you're in danger emotionally or physically.
Yeah.
And just taking care of business and making everything feel lighter and safer.
It's amazing.
That's love, baby.
Your dad is 100% your guardian. I'm also so curious. Anthea said that their daughter, Bella, is now 11 and a creepy kid. So has your daughter seen your dad?
Oh, interesting.
Or what encounters has your daughter had? I want to know.
Yeah, was she looking around when she was little, interacting with someone?
Grandpa?
It could happen. It could be.
The putting out the fire. I mean, how terrifying as a little kid. You're like playing around and then your hair catches on fire.
I know. As a little kid, you don't know what to do.
Right. But her dad was there instantly.
Immediately.
And then she was laughing.
Stop, drop, and roll, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then what could have been so scary for her becomes like this silly little experience because her dad swoops in and rewrites the story and helps her.
Yeah.
Right away.
That's so beautiful.
That is so beautiful. Wow.
Well, we hope that this gave you a little bit of a breather from some of the scarier stories, but we will resume with the spooks in
next week.
In a couple days when the regular episode comes out.
Yes.
And if you want more ghost stories, we have bonus episodes on Patreon every month. And also you can join us on Campfire Stories every Tuesday night where
Which is hosted on Patreon.
On Patreon, where you can share your ghost stories and listen to listeners share their ghost stories.
Yeah. So there's a lot more over on Patreon. Otherwise, just tell everybody about us. Rate and review on iTunes because then that way we get to collect more and more hauntings, more and more ghost stories. And that's why we're all here. You know, it may be October, but we do this year round.
Yeah, we do. Never ends.
Nope.
Thank you to our editor, Jamie Ryan, who edits and produces our audio and video every week. And thank you to all of you for listening.
And we will see you on the other side.
Very spooky.